Hey there, JJ here, founder of Media Authentic and instructor over at BetterThanData. Today we're going to talk about how to use GA4 data. I know it might seem like a really basic question, right? Like obviously it's an analytics platform, but with GA4 we have a whole new slew of considerations, thoughts, feelings, ideas, and everything else inside of that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna hop right into this and I'm gonna share my screen. We're gonna talk about a few of the ideas around how you might wanna think about using your GA4 data for your business, right? Whether you're an agency, a consultant, an in-house team member, or some other slew of people, that is totally fine, but we're gonna think about there's different levels of effort and outcomes. Okay, so let's hop into it. Without further ado, though, head over to betterthandata.com/YouTube. We've got a pretty epic template that will get you all the things you need to within using the GA4 API. I know a little bit nerdy, but we're going to hop into it right now. Okay, so what do I do with the GA4? Okay, so here's what we're going to talk about. Okay. What do I do with GA4? There's a lot of information that is inside of GA4, but the first thing you're going to want to do is focus on your data collection. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag a little block in here. Actually, let's do one of these buddies. Okay, the first thing you have to consider is you need a bomb diggity data collection strategy. Okay, because of how GA4 works, and let's make this bigger so everybody can see and play along at home. Okay, so the first thing that you're going to need is you're going to need a bomb diggity data collection strategy. That is a highly technical term, right? So if you have not yet, that's the first thing you need. I don't care what you use. I have heard a dozen different ways to do it. You have to just stick with something that is consistent. So for example, we over at BetterThanData teach you the foresight system. So that is using a prefix and a suffix within an event name, okay, to then identify that event, and then you're using parameters to then identify what that event is in relation to. Might seem a little bit advanced, but like that's the idea. So the step one is you need a bomb data collection strategy, okay? Hopefully you can say, hey, we've got that covered. We know what we're doing, all of that jazz. So let's make this step one. Let's green for start. Okay. Then once you have that bomb diggity data collection strategy, you now have levels. Okay. Let's do this up here. We are going to add a little texty text. Okay. The next thing you're going to have is the GA4 UI, okay? And this is going to be a yellow because we're going to make it yellow. And the GA4 UI is good for a few things, okay? If you're a small team and you just need answers quick, you need bespoke answers to your questions, or you are validating data that you're sending to BigQuery, okay? So let's just write those down really quickly. Is you are validating. Let's make this a little smaller. It's not as important here. All right, and we'll go with, I don't know, purple and white. Obviously, you can tell my color schemes are on point. Okay, so validating data is one use, right? We might also have for example, bespoke questions. Okay, so this is like where you want to use your Explore reports because you have a very specific funnel you want to look at. You have something very specific that you're trying to do, okay? Maybe you also have low resources, right? And you want to just rely on Explore plus reports, okay? That is totally cool, not like hating anything. Just that's another option, right? So we have these three options. We're gonna draw little arrows over here, boop, there we go. And another one right here, boop, okay. So here are the three kind of things you use the GA4 UI for, is right, validating data, that's what we use it for mostly. Bespoke questions, okay? So that's gonna be asking in the Explore reports where it's a very, very complicated system. And then you wanna have, maybe you have a low resources or you just want to upskill. Like you have the desire to upskill and you're gonna start here, okay? So that's the GA4 UI, okay? Then, and so just to clarify on that is like, in default, how GA4 works is like you kind of get one answer per page. So if you want to use this GA4 UI, you have to kind of either build a report that is either not for its intended use because it's just a collection piece, or kind of go a different method. Okay, so that's the option number one. Okie doke. Now we have the GA4 API to something. Let's go sheets/BQ. All right, so now once you have your data collection strategy, you can then go this path, okay? So the API exports the summary tables within GA4. I know, super nerdy, but basically your reports that you have in GA4, you can get those exported using the API, but there are some calculations and things that are not 100% clear by Google. Like they haven't said, hey, this is how it works, this is how it doesn't work, etc. Okay, so this is your next option. You have the GA4 API because that is really easy to use. I say that loosely. So you can take this, go over here, and this is great for consistent reporting of high level numbers. Okay, because you can use the API and say, I want you to return to me the page location, the sessions, and the event counts on that page, right? Boom, returns you a sheet with date, page location, and sessions. Off to the races, you are good to go. Another option is that you can get more detailed and say, return the event name and the page location, and now you have all the event names. So back over to the bomb diggity data collection, if you know your event names, it's very easy to do that. Shameless plug here is that if you go over to BetterThanData /YouTube, you can find on the tools page all the deets. I'll show it to you later. Using the API, we have a almost free tool, Mixed Analytics, that we use to kind of get going in the API world. It's just really, really cheap, and also gives you the ability to kind of explore the API without any limits of like having to worry about anything except for Google Sheets. Okay, shameless plug there. You can also use this API, right, if you want to then build something that is without using, or build something using Looker Studio. Okay, the API is like the beginning into using an external visualization tool, because GA4 kind of came with this promise of customizing the visualizations, customizing everything else. I would say personally they fell short of that in general, but hey, this is like an option there. So just to clarify, we got these two paths so far. We have the GA4 UI, which I would say is great for validating data, bespoke questions, and if you have low resources or a one-man team or woman team, and you need to, you want to rely on the Explore reports, which are not dynamic, and then the default reports, which you can customize, but you might have to have a collection of those reports to get your answers to your data or your questions, as opposed to having a single page where you're able to just say, hey, this is how we do it. Okay. So then we've got, and then you can use the GA4 API, right, to have reporting of high-level numbers, and then Looker Studio. It is very hard to use the API to have any sort of sequence. Let's actually add that here, because I feel like that is one of the key pieces that most people are trying to do. We're going to go all the way up here. Okay. I'm going to put this as a difficult, right? So this is difficult to have, let's just say sequences. And I'm going to make that, let's make it orange. Boop. Okay. So now we have, this is difficult to have sequences, and then I'm going to put up here a difficult to have other responses. So difficult to have multiple questions, okay? Because frankly, it is fairly hard in GA4 to have multiple questions that you're trying to answer at once. It just doesn't work out too well. Okay, so here we are, folks. We've got these things right here. The next one, which I would say people are overly ambitious in trying, okay, is trying to use the GA4 BigQuery situation. So GA4 to BigQuery Export, okay? So here we have the GA4 BigQuery Export. This, I would say people are overly ambitious in trying to use it, okay? It is very, very nuanced. There are so many gotchas. People tote this as like the holy grail because you have raw data. This used to only be available on GA360. Now it's available inside of the GA4 default free version that we're all going to use. Okay, most people are going to use. Even enterprises are still rocking GA4 free version because you get 1 million hits a day streamed to BigQuery. So what do you want to do this for, right? So this is where you want to have multiple questions in a single page. I'm going to call this single page, and then I'm going to put a Looker Studio here because that is where it's at. So if you want to use a BigQuery export, multiple questions on a single page, bada bing, bada boom, there you go. Then if you want to also have sequences and scope that are 100% custom. Okay, so basically you can design, like scope doesn't really exist inside of BigQuery. It exists in the sense of the data collection was done with scope, but you can make up whatever your heart desires. Sessions by events, items by users, it does not make a difference because you are writing the raw data, which again, for better or worse, is there, but you can mess it up to your own accord. And if you have a better question that you could do across the scopes, you can do that, okay? Then we have the downsides, okay? So we're gonna copy this difficult and downsides. Okay, so I'm gonna put this over here because this is gonna be the biggest thing. Extremely complicated. Okay, that's the thing. We're gonna put that right here. It's extremely complicated just because it is friggin' complicated. You've got to deal with SQL. You've got to deal with scheduled queries. You've got to deal with making sure your queries run in order. What happens when the data gets updated? What if you missed a day? What if you queried something that was across days? Do you want to use intraday tables? You have to union them together. There are so many gotchas that is I'd say next to impossible for the average marketer to do this. But you can learn, right? There's a lot of courses on BigQuery. We have some inside of BetterThanData. Simo Havas is great. Some other people have a lot of BigQuery stuff. But I would say that like you really want to say what is the end goal of this. A lot of queries are built to answer the question in BigQuery, but you have to decide for yourself if you want to do that or if you want to have a Looker Studio report. So if you would like to have a Looker Studio report, you can then boom, have this. You have a fast Looker Studio report that is 100% custom, okay? And I'm gonna show you what this looks like. So here in general are the three options. Option one, use the GA4 UI. Easiest, simple, good to go. Option two, the GA4 API to Google Sheets or BigQuery. We have a template right there, BetterThanData/YouTube, go get it. Then we've got the GA4 BigQuery Export, right? So that is gonna be really complicated, but then has big rewards if you can do it right because of how the data is formatted, all that jazz. And then you get all the benefits of multiple questions, sequencing, scopes, all that jazz, and a lightning fast Looker Studio report, okay? Those are your options, okay? But I wanted to really emphasize, without any, any question, you have to have this. You have to have the most bomb diggity data collection strategy out there. You got to pick something and stick with it because it will make your life 1,000 times easier no matter what you're doing. If you know what your events are called, you know what your parameters are called, and you know what the intention is for collecting those pieces. Okay, so folks, that is the gist of it. Now we're gonna do some show and tell, okay? I'm just gonna show you and tell. So let's start at the bottom, the BigQuery GA4 export. What does that look like? Because everybody's like, what is this? Here we go. We're going to hop over here. We're going to push this button, get my big old face out of the way. This is our version. You can find it at betterthandata.com/demo and get this. That's betterthandata.com/demo. And so here you can see that we have 100% custom thing. We can say, hey, here's our landing pages. We can then click on things to isolate them if you want to. Say here what's happening on this landing page. Bam, there we go. We can then say what's happening on our templates page. How are we trending? Oh, hey, there's our sessions, there's our lead impressions, there's our generated leads. We then have the sources, so see how our YouTube, will you be one of these numbers? We will find out shortly. So if you go to BetterThanData/YouTube, you will show up right here and you'll be a cute little number on this chart. And then you can come down here and see how everything's trended. We have our page sniper, which basically you can then load up whatever page you'd like to. If I click on this, it'll load up a little image preview. It will then have everything here, and sometimes there are errors. All right, there we go. But you can then kind of pull up any type of version that you'd like to, and then it should work there. We then have e-commerce, which is coming soon. We have the ability to slice funnels in horizontal ways, so you can have a horizontal funnel. Maybe you want to have weekly kind of roundups right here for your teams. Maybe you want to have monthly KPIs. The limit is endless. The end is limitless. You can do whatever your heart desires. That's there. We then have Google Sheets API. This was mentioning over at betterthandata.com/YouTube. This uses the API, gets all the data in here from the API, builds this report right here. You can get yourself a copy. Like seriously, this you can like go download it right now. I think there might be even a link for BetterThanData /mixed. Go get it. Like it's free. Grab yourself a copy. It's really cool. There's a button right here that I made myself. Oh no, is the button gone? Sad day. Well, normally you can go hit a button right here. Oh, there you go. Boom. So here's our button using custom CSS inside of Looker Studio. There you go. Get yourself a 100% free copy of that. And this is what that landing page looks like. So here, if you go here, again, this is going to be where you go to Better Than Data and you go to Tools We Love. And at the little tippity top here, you will see the GA4 API Limitless Dashboard. And you can also get conversion tracking, guys. Okay, that's all, folks. That was it. I really appreciate you sticking around this long if you are. And I hope that you got some ideas around how to use GA4 for your organization, for yourself, in those different methods, pros and cons. And hopefully, as we approach the July 1st deadline, you can pick one of these, lock it down, and start taking action. All right, see you in the next one.